Mm-mm-mm-mm. Hey, how y'all doing today? My name is Selah. And this is Journey of an Activist, yeah, or Journey of an Artivist, actually, yeah. So this is where I discuss really trials and tribulations that I go through when pursuing, of course, being an artist, but in being an activist as well. So this episode today is about intimacy with self. I feel like it's a very important concept. But I just wanted to go over, like, I guess how I've explored that and just the ways that it's been prominent for me. Obviously, outside of art and outside of activism, that isn't my whole identity, but it shapes the way I want to interact with the world. You know what I'm saying? It shapes my purpose and stuff. So, yeah, I just realized how important it is, especially in this time, to be intimate with self. And it might seem kind of backward in a way because it's like, aren't you in service to other people? Aren't you helping other people? Which I think that's art. That's purpose, really, being in service to others. But if you're in service to others, why would you want to be intimate with yourself? I would say it's because we go through a lot of the same things, all of us. Everyone has a cross to bear. Everyone has their own burden. So by having intimacy with myself, I made a post one time on TikTok where it was like, sometimes I feel like I'm mad at someone, but I'm not really mad at that person. I'm not really angry. I don't hate that person. I just hate how powerless I feel. And that idea or that feeling of not having power or control over their own destiny, that's someone that that's something that everyone really goes through, you know? That's something that everyone really experiences in some way, shape, or form. They might have the most money in the world, but still they might feel, you know, like they don't have genuine connection within their family, within their friends. Like money is supposed to be the thing that solves the issues. And so yeah, everyone has a feeling of being powerless. But when it comes to intimacy with self, I don't know, it has really helped me to define my values and my purpose and my whys. I would say we aren't really taught or we're not really encouraged. I know I wasn't encouraged in my household or in school to like be intimate with myself and not the physical, obviously, but the spiritual. I think the only thing that was encouraged spiritually was praying, which I do. But I haven't seen adults really be intimate with themselves. And when I say that, what does self care really look like for you? For me, right now, to help me really define my values, define my purpose, I had to get real intimate with myself. And when I say that, that's journaling, that's meditating. And at first, it started off as like half a page, 1 page, maybe. I'm like, bro, this is dumb. Like, I know what I'm thinking. But you don't really know what you're thinking until you're trying to break through a concept, a pattern that's going on in your life. And then with that, with projecting my lived experiences, what I experienced with my eyes, with my ears, it's like, well, what do I want to solve? How do I want to help? What will best benefit me? I think at one point, I think I wanted a very nice car. I think everybody did, right? I wanted a house. I thought that would make me feel better, right? And I still wrote about that in my journal eventually. I really started to search. I'm like, what exactly would make me feel better? And what exactly am I running from? By getting this, do I feel like I will be validated more? Would I have more social currency? Would I then be liked? Would I then be encouraged to be around more, right? What exactly am I gonna gain from this status symbol? And I have to be real honest. Some people, they might say like, nah, I just like it because it looks nice, and this is the type of luxury that's for me. Well, I have to define that for Belle. So, when it comes to intimacy with myself, I had to create an identity with my why, around my whys, really. So once I define really my purpose and what I want to do, what I feel like I was missing, and how I feel like I can help the next generation of people, how I can, I guess impact the world. I had to create more so an identity around my whys, an identity around the intimacy that I was creating with myself, right? So I think a big thing, at least within this journey, within this purpose, is seeing a difference between self and the senses, right? I read the Gita a lot, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Buddhist text, really, I believe. And it's like they talk about the difference between self and your senses, where it's like the self doesn't really experience anything. Your spirit, your soul doesn't really experience anything in the senses, right? If you eat something and you're like, damn, that's a good meal. If you watch something like, damn, that's a good movie. If you even joke, if you're having intercourse with somebody, yourself is not really experiencing it. But it's more so your senses. And then I had to think about how we operate off of our senses regularly, constantly. If you haven't really had that intimacy with yourself, that alone time, you're still just mainly operating off of what is gonna help you relax today, what is gonna gratify you today, what is gonna be pleasing to the senses, not the spirit, but to the senses. And sometimes we can get the two kind of, how to say, intertwined. Another thing with being intimate with myself, and that's the journaling, that's the meditating, that's the sitting in these somber thoughts, whenever they come up, I had to realize like intimacy isn't all good feelings. And for a while, well, maybe because I really didn't know the full definition of the word, or I haven't sat in the definition of the word, or maybe I haven't even experienced it growing up too much, what intimacy should look like, or what it does look like, or what it might look like for me. I realized that intimacy isn't all good feelings. There's positive, right? And it's the good times where you feel like everything is going right, but it's also the somber moments where, you feel like shit. You feel like ain't shit going right, you're not going down the right path, all your friends passing you, where you feel like nobody's talking to you, or you feeling lonely, or you feel, bad. It's like those moments. And I realize, actually, short reflection right now in my mind, it's like I'm thinking about relationships or friendships I may have had, connections that I've had, and how I wasn't able to really hold space for them when they weren't feeling their best self. And that was a chance on intimacy that I might have missed out on. And that's reflecting on the past. But because I think a lot of us, but especially me, I had a skewed idea of what intimacy really looks like, or what it should look like. So when anything outside of that view, started to pop up, started to surface, I'm like, whoa, this is not love. This is hatred. And they say there's a thin line between love and hatred, but I knew for sure in my mind, like, this is not it. So I didn't have the emotional threshold to really hold space for non-positive feelings, because no matter what, growing up in a Caribbean household, you're, raised with discipline, but also there's an element where you are raised to be subservient. So whether or not you enjoy doing something, or you want to do something, what you want is not really considered much, I would say. So I feel like I've seen that adapt into, like, or really pop up in my friendships and my connections, in how I approach work, where more so my way of conforming to the way that I was raised really would be to people please, to really show up, and I'm gonna smile, and I'm gonna have only positive feelings. Anything negative, anything negating the harmony, the perceived harmony that we have within the workplace, within our relationship, within connection, I don't even have space for that to exist. And I see how that's toxic, but I can also see how that has shown up really in my art, and the type of things that I get to talk about, or the type of things I allow myself to talk about, I have the opportunity to talk about. If you don't have no intimacy with yourself, and that's like a lot of the music that we hear nowadays, I feel like sometimes, at least from the mainstream and the ideas that I used to be in, where it's like the music has to be, fire. It's like we talking about doing this with friends, and then we drinking this, we smoking this, and it's a good time. And you kind of create an identity around that, around your senses, rather than the self. And that's what I want my music to embody. That's what I want my activism to embody. It's not just we're chanting, and I don't consider myself a reactionary activist or a reactionary revolutionary, where it's like, damn, the president just did this, damn, this country just did this, let's chant that, let me repost. No, I'm more so getting to the roots, right? Because I have to also get to the root of my own problems and how it shows up. I have to wonder why a public leader would do such and such. And once I explore it, sometimes I feel bad. I don't feel like this person is evil. I feel like that person is more so underneath the skin. It's a lot of things that we cannot see, we are unable to see. But yeah, so I really wanted to explore the difference between intimacy with self and intimacy with your senses. Like, what's the difference between self and senses? But yeah, and with even sitting with yourself, you kind of like learn your energy, you understand your energy, and that shows up in how you are able to really create. And I feel like with that, every opportunity can't be allowed intimacy. It can't be allowed into your space. For instance, honestly, I would just say social media. But honestly, social media is such an easy thing to talk about, in terms of how everything that we look at when we scroll, we're allowing that to have intimacy within our eye gates, right? What we see, what we move, as much as it might not be an opportunity that you can pursue, it's more so, this is a channel to a person that exists in real life. This is a channel to some things that I do have or don't have, a trend, something I'm missing out on, something I'm not missing out on. It's also trauma. It's also corruption that's available. Like, you have access to all of it, and we think we can process it, and we're allowing all of this into our space. So imagine now when you're trying to make art, your energy is so diluted into the world. It's like, what exactly do you really get to talk about? That's an original experience. If you haven't sat with yourself, because every time you might think intimacy is supposed to be pleasant when you feel those somber moments. Like the other night, I was up at like 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. If I was, and then the negative emotions came up. I started to think like, damn, let me just watch some TV. Like, once I watch an episode, I'll get tired enough to go to sleep. Or let me read. Let me read it away. I don't even have TikTok on my phone at the moment. So, but that would have been an option. I feel like a lot of us, when we feel those negative emotions, when your body wakes you up and is presenting all the things that you try to repress, because you have to still live within your 24 hours. You still have to live and do active things and try to be a productive person in your life. You still have to eat. You still have to cook. You still have to go to school. If you go to school, you still have to interact with people. So all the things that you try to repress, they pop up. It's really sitting through those times. That's when you really get to like the deeper connection, and you really get to see that all of it is just feelings, right? All of it is feelings, right? You have to be able to breathe through it. You breathe in and you breathe out, and you let your nervous system know that you're safe, right? A lot of things, they come and you get the overthinking, you get the psychodrama of life, like, why am I not making the right decision, or what is wrong in life? But once you breathe in and breathe out, you let your nervous system know that you are safe, and hopefully you are in a position to be safe, right? Hopefully you're not laying out on the road or anything. I don't know, what demographics really would listen, or if anybody's listening. But anyways, if you're in your bed laying down, you let your body know that you are safe. You're not being harmed. No one is attacking you. You have nothing that you have to do right at this moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Let your nervous system know that you're safe. A lot of times, because we don't have intimacy with ourselves, we don't really recognize when our energy is a little bit off. When you get bad news and you immediately breathe in, and you don't even realize you could be holding your breath for 2-3 minutes and just letting out small enough breaths in order to obviously to stay alive. But like, you don't even realize, like, sometimes you might eat through your emotions, right? And I noticed this because I know that kind of the science of some food. I know that when you're stressed, you crave more so of a salty thing. Stressed or angry, you crave more of a salty thing. When you're sad, you crave more so something sweet, I believe. So it's like, how many times do we eat through our emotions? We overeat, we overindulge in something, and like sometimes those emotions go away, but the body, it keeps count. It knows. But yeah. So every opportunity can't be allowed intimacy within your space. So I feel like the best part about having freedom, which is what I read in the book, is like, the best part about freedom is actually choosing your freedom, right? You can do anything in the world, but it's more so, what exactly do you want to do and why? I don't want to pick up my phone and somehow I end up on Instagram, somehow I end up on TikTok, and I'm looking at friends, I'm looking at old friends, new friends, I'm looking at all types of things, trying to keep up with the day-to-day thing. I don't want to do that. So I don't, as much as I would like to have Instagram and TikTok, I don't have it, and that is my freedom that I choose. So, yeah. I would just say, to kind of come to the end of the episode, a real short episode, is my purpose became a lot clearer, right? And I'm still learning, I'm still actively moving, but I'm more so aware of my what and why, right? I realized, like, okay, I am in college. Okay, this is my last semester, but money isn't my main goal, right? Okay, say that money is my main goal, and I started looking at different timelines for my life. If money was my main goal, I could have gotten a job, and then I could have saved enough money, put a down payment on a house. Now I have a mortgage, which is fine. I have utilities to pay off. Now I also have a lawn. I have to get my lawn done as well. It's a whole like set of different timelines, but I have to understand my why. Would I be happier if I can make enough money to have my own space? Of course, right? I would want to have my own space, but like, would I be happier? Or, I mean, happy is really an emotion, right? Would that take me on through life, right? The hours that I take away from myself to kind of give out to a corporation that is not owned by people that look like me, but also sometimes these corporations, we don't even know what's going on behind the scenes, so they could be contributing to somebody else's oppression, right? And day to day, I'm just working to get this check, and I'm not even realizing, like, oh, I'm just functioning off my senses. I wake up in the morning, look at phone, get something to eat, go to work because I don't have enough time to be at work. I give the job my time. I come back home. Well, I have to unwind now. I have to relax because you use a lot of psychic energy at work. You have to communicate or not communicate, but you have to do these tedious tasks. Then you get home. You feel like you deserve to unwind, which you do. You deserve to relax. But it's the ways that we choose to relax. Nobody wants to come home from work and then journal. But I mean, what is going to sustain you? What is going to help you know that, all right, I'm not just working this job to make money and then eventually get the status symbols that I deserve as a reward. No, I'm making this money to a purpose. We have to save to a purpose. And a lot of financial literacy wasn't taught in schools. It wasn't taught really to people of color. So it's more so, I've seen my parents, I've seen people that have been close relatives to me just kind of live to survive or really not even talk about money. Money's a taboo topic. It's like, no, you just go to work and that's just it. That's just my life. And once you go to work, you get nice things and that's just the way of life. But what exactly are we aiming to? You know? Is that just the goal of life, to have a nice house, to have a nice car, and to have love, really? I mean, of course you want love, but it's more so, how much time do I have to take away from myself to get an external object of love, right? Every opportunity can't be allowed into your space. So, yeah, it's just a lot of things I have to consider, and I have to write them down. I can't think about my purpose all in my mind. You know how much things go through people's minds, bro? Especially when you're on TikTok, you talking about some Jesus, 6, 7, all the vocal stems that they call it, but they're just actively repeating in your mind, and you don't even realize it because you scroll, you see something funny, and you associate your laugh with your eyes, right? So it's like a lot of things are moving in sync. Like you associate these good feelings, and then they, you remember them over time, and yeah, it's just like I had to write things down to kind of clear out all the gunk, clear out things that are actively trying to distract me from living in my fullness, living up to my full potential, right? And that made me want to be an active part of my community, an active part of many communities, because oppression, it looks different in America, in different countries in Africa, all over the world. However, it's kind of like the same principles, the same elements to keep others kind of stagnant, right? They don't call it a caste system, but sometimes it kind of feel like that because we're not growing our children into productive people. We're kind of growing them into being subservient, listen to the social order, and everything will be pleasant, everything will be okay, and still we have no connection to self, and self is all you have until the day that you die, right? You breathe in and breathe out, but the breath is all that you have. And we're taught almost by omission not to really breathe through things. Somebody shocks you like, and then you're processing information. It's like, I could talk about breath all day because I'm just really into breath work, and I feel like the difference because you could be feeling a sad emotion. I feel like this morning for sure, I was at the gym, and mid-set, I was having such a sluggish day, but mid-set, I'm thinking about something from like one of my old relationships. I don't know why, because it's like, mad time has passed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I start going down this ugly spiral. I don't even want to finish the set, but then I breathe in, I breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and by the time I get outside to the gym, I'm like, wow, I have the emotional threshold for sad emotions. Like, it's not gonna bog my day. I don't feel like I have to react and then change the sad emotion into a happy one. That's unhealthy, it's toxic. So I really had to ask myself right now, what I'm doing right now, doing art, doing activism, speaking out, being a healer, speaking from a different male perspective, that's more positive, one that calls out patriarchy and tries to deconstruct it in the ways that I know how, which is by reading up on different texts, right? Putting actually the frequency that I get from my reading into my music in terms of the vibes that I want to give off. I don't want to talk about love and sex and interacting with others in the same way that has always been, not always really, but I feel like more modern in rap and stuff. Do I want to talk about women in these ways? Do I want to talk about life in these ways? Why do we have to talk about women in a song? Can we talk about purpose? Can we talk about living and enjoying life and not really being a terrorist or an emotional terrorist? But you have to really consider, after writing down, is this my purpose right now in 2026 with the vessel that I have, like the soul that's in my vessel in 2026? I'm here for a reason. I'm here within the modern era, the most modern information, the technology era. I'm here in this era for a reason. I'm at this age for a reason. A lot of people might say this in different philosophies, but you chose this life. You made a contract in heaven, they might call it, with God. You made a contract to come to this earth. And what is the reason? A lot of people might say your enemies are really your best friends in heaven because they teach you different things. So it's like, why would I have chosen this? And based on everything that I've seen, my lived experience, based on my senses, based on everything I've seen with my eyes, my ears, the things that I've tasted and how they've shaped my emotions and how I feel on the inside, what exactly is my purpose? What will keep me fulfilled? Would it be living within the social order, doing the quote unquote right thing, even though I'm not seeing progress? Would it be conforming in order to be liked and accepted? Or would it be how I'm showing up now in this YouTube video, in this podcast that I'm doing, in my music, in the short storybooks that I write, in the short films that I make, even though it's not perfect or the best, because I do I do everything myself in terms of learning the concepts and learning what I don't know. It's so much information out here, so it's like, yeah, I do it all. I don't mind really doing it all. It sucks sometimes because it's like, damn, this is a lot of editing, but it's also like I have to be present. I can't have everything like that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's very important, at least for me right now in this journey, to have a certain type of intimacy with myself, right? To isolate, to really block out some of those habits that I formed over time. I feel like at a point, every time my mom would call, every time, a family member would call, it's like I hear the vibration, something, rings in my head, I gotta pick up, I gotta answer, hello, what's up? Sometimes they don't mean nothing, right? And it's the same thing with friends, it's the same thing with everyone, but it's more so, how can I get in a space where no one can really contact me but me? I can't really reach out until I'm ready, right? My phone is in a leash. Back then, you'd have to write a letter and then put it in a paper and then give it to a pigeon and then they, fly. I don't know how it used to work, but like, communication wasn't as immediate at times. If you lived in a house with your family, of course, but communication wasn't as immediate with everybody worldwide. So I really had to pinpoint what exactly do I want to focus on and where exactly can I place that intimacy. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about in this episode. I hope this helps me in the future know where I am now, and I might look at this like, damn, he like damn, like low key, but it's okay. What I'm saying, I'm getting my ignorance debt out the way. What I'm saying, but yeah, I hope y'all enjoy this. Have a good one. Be the best, Julian. Yeah.